name is Sarah, otherwise known as Yarnmugs on Instagram and Ravelry. Welcome to my podcast where I chat about crochet, knitting, sewing and books that I've been reading. It's Monday the 8th of May, it's a bank holiday, so I'm not at work today and I thought I'd film a podcast, catch you up on what I've been making since last time. For those that have been watching all year, I've not really been making much. I'm sort of working on the same sort of projects. It's just taken me a bit of time to get things finished. And I've sometimes had moments of being a bit bored of the projects that I'm working on, but I'm really determined to get these things finished, and I've got plans for future projects down the line. I don't know if any of you feel like that either. I know we've talked before, it's really exciting starting new things, but I really get pleasure out of finishing things as well. So and sometimes life is busy, isn't it? You don't always have loads of time to work on things. So it's just these little moments in the evening that I tend to do my making at the moment. So let's get on and let you know what I've been working on. I've looked back on this year's podcast, and I tend to wear this cardigan all the time, but it's one of my favourites. It's the Funday Cardi by Iron Lamb, and the yarn is Cascade Heritage Heathers, and I think it was in a Aran weight, but I love it. I really love this cardigan. So I think over the last few podcasts I've shown you a lot of hat making, and I've made another hat. You probably can't really see, but it's so grey and rainy quite a lot. We've had a really wet, grey, cold March and April, and even though it's quite mild now, it's not cold, but it's just rained loads. So lots of greenery. The trees are, you can't really see that, but the trees are really getting big. Oh, hold on. Right, so I've been making several hats. So I've been really using up leftover yarn, and for this hat I've held two strands together. I think one of them was Cascade Heritage or Cascade 220 in the navy, and the other one was a cashmere blend by Mint Bee Yarn. So this is the hat. This is the finished hat. I've made another violet Waffles hat. It's a really lovely texture. It's so nice and stretchy, and it feels really soft with this cashmere yarn. Now, I did measure the yarn out because I knew I might want to make some mitts to go with it. So it's a really nice beanie. It feels really squidgy, so it's not super tight to my head, but it's not. There's no slouch in it at all. It is just flat. When I wear hats, I do tend to want them as low as possible and to cover my ears, so it's alright. I think it's okay. Lovely colours, and not that it's really hat weather now, but I think what I'm going to do is I've weighed this, and it's about 60 grams, and I'll be able to make some Heath hand warmers, the same little Ali's lovely pattern. So then I'll have a little mitts and hat to match for the autumn and winter. But yeah, really, really love this pattern. I've made quite a few of these violet waffle hats, and they're really lovely. And again, I often will adapt it and either do a bit more. You can't really see it here because where the waffly bit starts, but sometimes I do a bit of extra rib to make sure that's all nice and tight. So that's my first little finish, but I do need to then make the little mitts to go with. Last time I showed you some of my handmade dodgy bags. I've decided I gave two away actually, one or two as gifts for people, and hopefully they're enjoying those. But I've kept this really dodgy one because I only had one drawstring. But in fact, when you pull it together, it's fine. You only need one. Now in this bag is my Just Feel Better shawl. So this is the yarn that I'm using. I've shown you this last time, and it's starting to get a bit floppy now. I've made a few of these Just Feel Better shawls in the past, and I think a few of you have as well. I've had a few comments about other people making them. Now the only thing with this yarn is I was getting a little bit bored with the pink, And it's such subtle changes. It's hard to, it almost all looks the same, but it's hard to really show it. You almost need something behind it, don't you, so it starts off darker, and then you can see a strand of lighter, and then it becomes 2 strands. And you can see it gets lighter and lighter, and now I'm at the point where it's now starting to add the green, and I've just got to the point where now I've got, out of the 4 strands, two of those strands are green. Oh, there, it's a bit better. So it's getting nice and big. I'll just show you it. So it's almost wrapping around me now. A little point down there, but I've got about the same amount of yarn left here to go. So these end up being really lovely and big. And this yarn, I think it is acrylic and cotton blend, so it's really soft and easy to wear. Yeah, it's nice. I'm really looking forward to the green. And again, look at you can see here the different strands. It'll be light green initially, and then you'll get some of that dark green, the teal colour in it. But yeah, that's a lovely pattern. Anyone that loves just a simple crochet make, very memorable pattern. It's just a bit of a change at the ends on particular rounds, but it's really just trebles all the way. It's lovely. But yeah, you can't really see. I suppose you can see it a little bit more there when I hold it up in a, you can see it a bit more darker and a bit lighter. I like these, whatever she calls them, bobbles, but they are, what does she call it? Yeah, this yarn bobble, but I would tend to call them, they're sort of like yarn cakes, or, can't think of the word. It's like an ombre, isn't it, where it changes. But yeah, it's really nice. No ends to weave in, just the beginning and the end one. And I'll link all of the patterns in my little description bit with links to those if you're interested. And the other pattern that I've been working on, which has been since Christmas or since Advent, is my Habitation throw. I really love it. I'm at the point now where I've been doing some decreases, so I can show you how the triangle is now turning into a square. And what I decided to do, well, let me show you the better side with no ends. So I ended on this dark green, and then I'm working my way backwards in a mirror image. Just move back a little bit, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Oh, it's just lovely. And the yarn, so it's Beehive Yarns Advent from last year. It's just so lovely, such lovely squishy yarn. And this Habitation throw pattern is really simple but so effective with these eyelets and the eye cord at the edge. I mean, it's just lovely. I'd highly recommend it. And even though, again, I don't have much making time at the moment, it doesn't take long, just to do a round, and they're getting shorter and shorter. So that's going to be quite satisfying, that as I work along, it'll be getting quicker. So I'm nearly finished this kind of browny green colour, and then I've got one more browny one, and that's the winter colours done. And then 18 more colours to go, and then it will be finished. So yeah, this was never going to be a quick thing. This is just a really nice, easy project to pick up in the evening, because it's basically knitting, apart from your little eye cord bit and then the different row for the eyelets. Yeah, I wonder how I'll wear it, whether it will be wearable or whether it'll be more like a throw or around his shoulders type. But it's getting quite big. It's hard to fit in my lovely Eldenwood craft bag. But I'm going to make it work, because it's been a lovely bag to have. So that's some knitting and some crochet. Now, one thing I need to really crack on with, which again I've not really been very good at, is my daughter's Harry Styles cardigan. I think I've shown you a bit of this before. I've done one with a bit of colour work in this time, which looks all right. So this will be worn. This is the back. So you can see it's quite big. It will be, it's meant to be big, chunky, oversized, and she's going to see Harry Styles in June after her GCSEs. But I just can't be bothered making it. It's like another, I think it's just how I've been feeling lately. I'm just not, and it's really nice. When I see the patterns, you think, oh, that doesn't take very long to do, but I just don't always have the motivation to do it. But anyway, I really have got to do that. That's terrible if I don't get that done for her for June. So that's the makes. It feels like I haven't really been making much, but I think it's just like I say, I'm working on the same things all the time, and maybe making these mitts, that will give me a bit of a quick win. I'll be able to make them in an evening, so I might do them maybe tonight. But yeah, otherwise I flip between doing the Just Feel Better shawl and the Habitation Wroe. I've still got the Tada crochet top, but I just haven't had the enthusiasm to pick that up either, so I'm just going to have to leave that for a bit and do that when I feel ready. Recently at work I got a really lovely thank you gift from a mum, a family that I was visiting, and often when I visited we would talk about our hobbies and what we like doing, and she also liked knitting, and she bought me, as well as a few extra things like, you know, lovely flowers and chocolates, she bought me this lovely book. And I don't really have many crochet books because often I've done a bit like, I'm sure everyone's the same, you buy patterns and you don't tend to make from them. But this does look lovely. There's some really nice things. These lovely patterns. So that was quite nice to look through that and be quite inspired to make something different. Yeah, like draft excluders and you know, sometimes it depends what colour they're in. You know, if it shows you something, you think, oh yeah, I could make that, or I'd like to make that. There's lots of nice little coasters. These are all quite classic things, aren't they? Typical things that you get in crochet magazines. But I think the thing that I was looking at was though that cushion and maybe a blanket. Just so, oh yeah, I thought this was quite nice as well. Just like a placemat. I thought they're nice in that natural colour. Yeah, what else was it I saw? Maybe it was the blanket. And this was interesting, you know, how they've added a crochet edge to just maybe a shop bought blanket. So yeah, really pleased with that. I thought that was a really lovely gift. That's quite a nice hat as well, with your granny squares. And they're quite sweet as well. Look at these as baby toys, little cubes. So yeah, that was really lovely gift. And along with that, she bought me a couple of these Rico Rumi. And again, look at that kind of whirl. I don't really know what I'm going to make with them because are they 50 grams? Yeah, little 50. So 100 grams. Could possibly make a hat out of that, but because they're two different things. But yeah, lovely. I think they are cotton, 100% cotton. But what a sweet gift. Yeah, the last thing I want to chat to you about is books. I've been reading quite a lot. We'll go in order of reading. I talked about this one last time. I'm in a work book club, and this was the first time we met, and the first book we've chosen, A Terrible Kindness by Jo Browning Wroe. This is her first book, and I absolutely loved it. When you read the back, it might make you think, oh, it's going to be really depressing, because it is sort of based on a true event of a landslide at a coal mine in Wales in 1966 called Aberfan, that's what the village was called, where a school was buried. And this story is about this man who has trained to be an embalmer. So that's the beginning of it, but it then goes right back through his whole story, and I really, really loved it. It's emotional, but it's lovely as well. Yeah, I can highly recommend it. It did make me think like I would like to be an embalmer, which sounds a bit of a strange thing to say, but I suppose in my nursing career, where I've cared for people that have died, and the care and attention that he gives to people that have died was really touching and respectful, and that, yeah, I really loved that part of it. So yeah, really, really recommend this. I loved it. I then read a book that my mum gave me and had recommended, Small Pleasures by Claire Chambers. I love this book too. I feel like I've had a real good run of really lovely books. Yeah, this was quite, I don't know how to describe it. I suppose the back page talks about, it's a woman who's a journalist for a local paper, and she starts to investigate a story or a claim that a woman claims her daughter is the result of a virgin birth. And so that's how the story starts, her sort of doing this investigation and getting to know this lady and her family, as well as sort of exploring her own family. So it's really about relationships. But all the way through, I was just so curious, thinking, is it a virgin birth? What's going to happen? It's romantic and tender as well, and it's of a time where, this is sort of written in the 50s. So again, it touches on marriage and relationships, and yeah, it was just my kind of book. I really love that. I really like sort of looking back in a particular time and trying to understand what life was like for them at that moment, as well as really exploring families and relationships. I love all that too. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. Really good. Then I started to read this book, which was my sister's old book from when we were younger. Now this lady, Lynne Reid Banks, wrote loads of books for children and for adults, but there's lots of kind of teen style books. And this is a story based in the 80s, and I was a teenager in the 80s. Well, I was born in 71, so yeah, I would have been 10 in 81. So yeah, all of my kind of secondary school was in the 80s. And so reading this, it did really remind me, it really rung true of my school days and what people were like. And some of it was quite uncomfortable reading, kind of sort of like racism in there was alluded to. And again, that just felt quite uncomfortable reading about that, but possibly was, how some people felt at the time. So that's difficult. But the other thing was, just again about relationships, and especially with teenagers. Having a teenage daughter myself, I think maybe that's why I found it quite uncomfortable at times. But yeah, it was an interesting look into sort of coming of age and sort of taking risks, and yeah, so it was okay. It was okay, but I did keep thinking back to, God, I don't remember reading this, but my sister read it, and some of it, it was a bit shocking, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's hard to put my finger on why I felt uncomfortable, but it was several things, and possibly because you sort of remember growing up, and yeah, I don't really know what more to say, but it's, yeah, I'm glad I read it, but and I don't really want to say too much because it might give the story away, but I remember things being in the news at the time that were similar to what happens to this girl in this book. And then I read another one, which is a very thin book, a quick book, Heatwave by Victor Jestin. This is a book that's been translated from French, and again, this is about teenagers and coming of age and being on holiday, and I found this really hard to read. I didn't enjoy it at all. It does say at the beginning, again, I don't want to give anything away. Does it explain? It does. It says it on the back. So it talks about this boy goes for a walk, and he sees one of the boys from the campsite hanging from a rope
of a playground swing, and he watches him die, and then it's just the repercussions of that, like what he did. And I think these children in this book are 17, so again that just made me feel quite uncomfortable reading that, and as well as other kind of exploits that they get up to, and those kind of raw emotions about when you meet people and you like people. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy it, but it was a bit of a strange story. And all the way through, I just kept thinking, why have you not told anyone? Why, just felt a bit cross with him, or a bit, confused at his reaction. So yeah, so out of all the books though, honestly, these two, beautiful, really lovely. If you like families and emotions, really, really nice. The other thing I was hoping to show you is I was hoping to get some sewing done, and I haven't been able to do any sewing, but I've cut out 2 dresses. So we're into May now, and that's my birthday month, and I always like to make, especially for my birthday, make a birthday dress. Now I had these 2 vintage pieces of fabric, this yellowy one and this pinky one, and I picked them up at a previous sewing retreat where you take things you don't want anymore and you do a swap, and then you make a donation to a charity. And I think the lady who I got these from provided both of these, and she thought this one in particular was probably from the 70s. It was old fabric, and I haven't got much of it, but I have managed to cut out a dress but without any pockets, whereas this one I had a bit more. This feels a bit softer, a bit lighter. So hopefully next time I might be wearing one of these dresses. Oh, excuse me. But I love the thought of, now I don't even know if yellow really suits me, but I really love yellow and green. And when the sun comes out, hopefully that'll be a nice spring summer dress. Looking at this, it's making me think of pyjamas, but I'm hoping it will look nice in a dress. I do like florals and pretty things like that. So yeah, that's probably it for now. Bit of a quickie, but I just thought if I don't come on and share, just have a chat and what I've been working on, then it'll be ages while we're waiting for the Habitation and the Just Feel Better Shawl to be finished. So I hope you're all okay. Thank you everyone, as usual, for all your lovely comments following the last video, and any Ko-fi donations. That's hugely appreciated, not expected at all. But yeah, it's always nice to have a chat after each video. Lovely catching up with you all. So I hope you're all okay and enjoying your crafting, and I'll see you soon. Bye.